Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's your yin yang truth seeker, Donnie. And today on House of Donald, I want to take a moment and acknowledge my peers, the chosen ones, which are the individuals that consider themselves woke because they are aware of the fact that they were once sleepwalking. And by that I mean when you live in a society that does the thinking for you, sometimes you may fail to realize the choices that they present to you limits you from your own creativity. That's why I often say history is his story. It's not even your story. But you can only write your own pages once you become aware of the fact that you were taught how to think and how to feel by the mainstream media in a school system that doesn't even know the half of it. The education this country presents to us often teaches us how to not think for ourselves. Therefore, some of us may fail to realize we may have freedom, but we do not have liberty. And when you are aware of the fact that you live in a society of peoples that are modern enslaved to a dying system that rules its peoples through fear, suddenly everything makes sense. And suddenly you become an individual in this place that we call here and now. While understanding the spiritual fact that we are all connected at the same time. But with that said, remind yourself, nobody is built like you, you design yourself. And in case nobody told you lately, you are enough and all the answers that you seek are within. Heaven and hell is within. So with that said, you can easily create your own heaven or your own hell if you are aware of the fact that everything that you think of yourself is an illusion. Your view of things is a figment of your own imagination, and when you can manifest your own individuality, your surroundings will become aware of you and return in inspirational ways like Enoch the Freestyle Prince, who is in my eyes one of my divine brothers. And I say that because we are living in the age of information, and our generation of millennials have a lot of spiritual individuals like Enoch who dare question many of our unconscious decision making due to a lack of awareness. Real recognize real, and that's why our generation have so many people calling themselves starseeds, light workers, indigos, and earth angels. It's because messengers like Enoch are out there decoding life for them from a spiritual angle that they can easily digest, since the information is already coded in our DNA. And websites like Gaia and the Nation of Islam help us understand this as well, since some of us are in fact descendants of the Anunnakis. But if you lack awareness, I'm here to tell you 9 times out of 10 it's not your fault. You may have attempted to follow your parents' footsteps. You may have unknowingly followed your parents' footsteps. Rather, that was with your marriage, your relationships, your career path, or your parenting skills, and in return you may still not feel fulfilled because you didn't do anything for your best interests. You did things for your parents' best interests. And if you are in fact experiencing low self-esteem due to that, it's because you played it into someone else's idea of you, rather it was your parents or society's. You see, many of us were programmed by the baby boomers who didn't know any better themselves, and I say that because the parents of the 1980s and the 1990s often thought your child should be seen but not heard. Like I knew for me personally, many of my mother friends and relatives, including herself, were often okay with talking about each other's behind each other's backs in front of me as a kid, as if I wouldn't tell the other elders, which I didn't. What was understood didn't need to be explained, at least not for me as a kid, but my presence was seen and not heard to them, and this lack of parenting left some of us feeling like the black sheep in our families. Like I knew for me, I feel like no one understood me as a kid in the adult world besides my grandmother. And due to this lack of parenting from my parents and their peers, many of us millennials may have or had emotionally experienced mommy issues or daddy issues, in return with a sense of abandonment as a child and probably even as an adult. But with that said, many of us like myself psychologically overcame that struggle because we learned it from our elders' mistakes. Basically, they unknowingly taught us what not to do as parents and adults. For example, Throughout my childhood, from the age 7 and up, I was often left in the house by myself, given the responsibility to fend for myself while being the guardian of my younger brother at the same time. My narcissistic, ego-driven parents weren't over themselves enough to understand a child's emotional requirements and psychological needs. Instead, my bad and bougie mother, along with other mothers that think like her, were more worried about homework being done and chores being done, as well as keeping up with the Jeffersons. But I assume it was like that because that was probably what her mother was worried about throughout her childhood. So if anything, it was history repeating itself. After all, everything starts at home, and these are generational curses us millennials had to endure throughout our childhood. But in return, many of us gained a better sense of spiritual awareness from our trials and tribulations, and some of us turned it out to be the parents we needed while growing up in a country that eats its babies. We're survivors, so I suppose you could say everything happens for a reason. And if you are one of those that chose an evolution over tradition, stay woke. And to those that consider themselves self-made entrepreneurs because they know they have no intellectual business working for someone who have no psychological business being their boss in the first place, stay free. And keep in mind, success is however you measure it. So forget about the White House and the picket fence idea. That's someone else's American dream. You might want to live in a lake. I mean, not in a lake, but in a cabin by a lake in the woods, you know? And while all your friends are taking vacations to Las Vegas, ATL, or Miami, Florida, you might want to visit Ghana, Africa, or Tokyo, Japan instead. Do you get my point? Because the point of the matter is, everything that you think that matters doesn't really matter if it's coming from someone else's point of view that serves no purpose towards you and your higher self. For example, if you feel like you have nothing in common with this video that you are watching right now, then turn it off. I wouldn't mind. Because if everything I'm saying doesn't really matter to you, I wouldn't want to waste your time, since I myself often utilize mind over matter. But do you get my point? Do you see how that works? It's your energy to use or waste, not mine. And if you think otherwise, then let's agree to disagree. But I do not wish to waste anyone's time. So I hope you can take something away from this video, because it is now up to us millennials as well as Gen Z to heal ourselves as a peoples and a nation. The time is now. The future is now. Peace and love. Stay woke.